Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station. I'm Graham O'Brien, and some of the stories coming up in today's news. Caver helps out above ground. All eyes on the port for virus. What's going on at the museum, and more. Takaka resident in Caver, Kieran Mackay, has been above ground this week to help prepare some of the elite members of our armed forces who were in Mutri this week for training. Chrissy Small caught up with him at the Whenuiti Outdoor Centre.
Kieran Mackay, look, here we are at Whenuiti. What are you doing at Whenuiti at the moment?
Oh, getting incredibly hot. What we're actually doing is helping running a leadership program for the Defence Force. So my mate Chris Whitehouse and I, we actually run the caving segment of this incredible leadership course they do for the colonels.
Okay, yeah. So you've got a whole lot of colonels here.
Yeah.
And they're not corny ones.
No, these guys are amazing. They're a really incredible bunch of people to work with, actually.
Yeah. And I saw a few women in there too.
Yes, it's good to see it's multi-sex, so that's really, really cool. Yep. And they're from the Army, Navy and the Air Force.
Right. Are these guys involved in cave rescue as well?
No, these are just out there doing their thing in the Defence Force. I'm not exactly sure what jobs they do, but I know some of them do some pretty incredible jobs.
Right, well, though certainly plucky going down that tower. I don't think I'd have the courage or the ability.
They seem pretty brave at the moment, but the next couple of days they're going to be doing some very, very challenging stuff underground.
Oh, so you are going to take them down under?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. This is all just training. We're just training them with some really specific skills, and then we take them into 2 caves up on Takaka Hill. And that's going to really challenge them.
Right. Do you check them out for claustrophobia first, like put them in a closet for a while and see how they handle it, or what do they have to do to prove they're not claustrophobic?
Well, all those challenges, that's all part of the course, and we put them out there. They get put out there, and they have to deal with those challenges, and that kind of helps develop the leadership stuff back at home.
Wow, that sounds like they'll go back with a lot of skills then.
I think they'll go back having learned a lot about themselves, and that's the whole concept of the course. Yeah.
Okay, so how long's this course been running, Kieran?
Oh, when did we start on this? Probably 2-3 years ago. I think we started. They run about 2 or 3 a year, and it's apparent it works. We're not part of the actual teaching the leadership. We just run the caving program. But what we hear is that the whole concept actually works really, really well.
Great. Okay, so who came up with the concept?
I couldn't tell you exactly who, but it was through the Army Leadership Centre, which is based down in Burnham, and those guys came up with a concept amongst themselves. Some guys here did some research around the world to find out exactly what works and what doesn't, and they've taken on board some pretty high-powered kind of leadership models, and they use leadership tools, and they use those.
Great. Okay, so you're certainly going to put them through their paces. How long is this whole course for then?
We're with them for 4 days, but the whole course is much, much longer than that. I think it's full on for about 2 or 3 weeks, and there's a lot more kind of stuff after that they kind of deal with. They kind of pull into pieces, and they give them tools on how to put themselves back together, and they kind of make sure that's happening through the next year or so.
Okay, so Kieran, after this course, what are your plans?
Oh, I've still got a lot of work this month. It's pretty busy. But in between times, we've still got lots of local projects to go and work on. So it's either work, sitting in the sun with my wife and hanging out with my wife, or we're going off caving around in the Takaka Hill area.
Right. And that's kind of the opposite of sitting in the sun, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
You're a man of extremes.
Well, it's so hot at the moment. It's really nice to get underground. This heat's killing me.
Yeah. I think it's killing all of us, actually. We're all wilting, aren't we?
I'm glad to know it's actually affecting everybody, because I'm finding this really, really hard. Yeah.
You'll be looking forward to getting back to your caving tomorrow. You're taking these folks into the caves, so
we're going to a training cave tomorrow, and then send them off on a big caving trip, kind of on their own on the next day. Great. And it's a good challenging cave for them.
Okay, now we've just been having an exercise of cave rescue in the region. That a little mishap took place, but it all worked out well, and the rescuers actually got to do a real rescue. Were you involved in that?
I knew that question would come up. The official word is, no, I was asleep. We're all involved, and the person that had the accident got out on his own, so yeah, it was all good, and he's He's right.
Well, that is good, and really, it must be. I mean, to have that many people. What was it? 70 people?
70 people, yeah.
Yeah, is phenomenal, and it just shows you that they take caving very seriously around here.
Yeah, and it's also good to know that you work with those people on exercises, you get to know them really, really well, you meet them socially. The caving community is really, really small, and if you have an accident, there's amazing people to come out and help you. And sure, that gives us a bit of confidence to push harder, but you just know that accidents these days generally are further and further from the entrance than they've ever been. So the rescue is just going to involve more and more people, a lot more time. But we do our best not to have accidents, but occasionally things happen.
It's official. Monday, March the 7th was the hottest day ever on record for the month of March since records began, with the temperature hitting 29 degrees at Nelson Airport. However, you can now relax a bit, as the Met Service has said that the temperatures are now expected to cool at night, with temperatures dropping but still remaining at a higher level than previous years at the same time. Mainland TV came across a scene of a car crash on Richmond deviation of the Whakatu Drive roundabout at 2 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon. One vehicle carrying an elderly male and female had come to an abrupt stop after hitting a streetlight pole, while the other vehicle had ended up off the road into a paddock. The accident involving the two vehicles seems to have been caused when one car heading south on the deviation collided with another turning left onto the same road. The 3 people involved in the accident were taken to hospital, 2 of them suffering only minor injuries. The accident is currently under police investigation. Nelson Mulberry District Health Board are keeping a vigilant eye out on Port Nelson in an effort to prevent the Zika virus from coming ashore. A larvae of the disease-carrying mosquito has been intercepted at Auckland Airport this week, but it was found that the virus wasn't present. The Zika virus sparked an international health emergency in February. Fortunately for New Zealand, the African virus is transmitted by the foreign Aedes mosquito and has several symptoms including sickness, fever, rashes and conjunctivitis. But Nelson Mulberry District Health Board Health Protection Officer Ruth Ferrari says native mosquitoes are unable to transfer the virus and the Aedes mosquito does not have much of a presence in New Zealand. The virus is also suspected to be sexually transmitted. Nelson Bay's police are reassuring outlaw motorcycle gang members coming to Nelson this week for the Hells Angels poker run that they will be closely monitored to ensure they abide by the law. Nelson Bay's Area Commander Inspector Matt Arnold Kelly said police want to send a clear message to the gangs that the people of Nelson will not tolerate antisocial behaviour and drugs in our community. Gangs are the main driver of the methamphetamine trade in this country, and he said we do not want that here. People can expect to see a high visible police presence throughout the weekend. Nelson's Provincial Museum's research facility in Stoke is not only set on one of our city's oldest historical gardens, but is home to some of our oldest documents in our region. The facility had 2 open days last week. I spoke to the facilities manager of collections, Paula Haynes Bellamy. Paula, recently you had the back of house tours down here at the museum. Can you tell us a little bit about how that went for you?
Sure, yes, we held 2 back of house tours last week and they were great. So we got the maximum number of people booked for the tours. They were great. I mean, I think a lot of people think of this building as still as the museum and visited it when it was the museum, and it's now the research facility and collection store. So people were really intrigued and excited about being able to see behind the scenes and to see what staff do. We're quite we're not secret in our work, but yeah, it is sort of, we're not out there and obvious to people, so it was great. So staff got a chance to show off what they do, and we got a chance to also highlight what the volunteers do with us as well. So we work on the collection here, we work on developing resources, we provide access to the public. We also develop our exhibitions here and work on the objects that are going to go into exhibitions.
And what was your maximum number, and are you planning to hold another one?
Yeah, maximum number is 8, unfortunately, because of the nature of the building. It's access is quite limited, and so we restrict it to 8. Yes, we are going to try and hold them regularly now, every 3 months or so, and we'll advertise that in our e-news, so people need to look out for that. And if they're not subscribed, get on board and join our e-news.
And you talked about your volunteers. How many volunteers do you have here, and could you do it without them?
Sure, no, definitely couldn't do the work without them. We have up to 12 volunteers. We're always looking for volunteers, but we've got to be careful because of limited space about how many we have within a week. They're great. They develop a lot of resources in the library. They do a lot of work with our staff working with collection objects.
So Paula, why do you actually have the library here in the museum?
Well, you've got to go back in history, I guess. The library was part of the museum, and then it split off to become the public library, and then we retained our library and archive collection, and it's been added to since then. The library's here for the public to use and for staff to use as reference material. The library's, I guess the first two collections that started the library were Dr. Betts' collection and Mr. Marston's collection, Mr. Marston from Isle House, which is next to us. Those collections are historical collections and they've always been with the museum. The library's been, or this collection's been added to by the public. Anybody requesting images from our collection, a photographic collection, or images from the library and archive collection, or images from the general collection, so these are objects. If they produce publications, then they're asked to then donate a copy of their publication to our library.
Paula, can you tell us a little bit about this area of the museum?
Sure. In this room we've got our inventory team working, Philippa and Jessie. They're working on our collection inventory project, which has been going since 2011. That's been funded by the Nelson City Council very generously. And the project is to inventory the entire collection within the museum, which includes general collection, library and archive, photographic material, etc. So everything we hold. Massive task, yes. Also here we have Meredith, who's our registrar, and she's working on our database at the moment, just entering some data into that.
Wow. That sounds a huge task.
Yes, the inventory is a huge task, yes, but it's very valuable. We're finding a lot about each object as we go through, and we're able to bring in all the information to that object record in our database. So a lot of our data is sitting on paper, and it's now all coming together in the database and then accessible by staff, and then it'll be accessible by the public when it goes online.
We'll bring you more on the glass plate images held at the facility with Collection Manager of Photographs, Daryl Gallagher, in tomorrow's news. After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.
Hi there, Julian Toon, Waimea Telecommunications. We install and maintain domestic and commercial satellite TV, UHF Freeview and Mainland TV installations in the Nelson, Tasman regions. We specialise in Panasonic telephone systems and provide communications, Wi-Fi, IT and wiring for internet, fibre, computers and DSL systems. At Waimea Telecommunications, we also provide specialist electronic systems for features such as a security camera you can watch on your TV, visitor alert systems and much more. Improve your security and communication and entertainment today. Call us on Waimea Telecommunications on 021 472297, ytel.co.nz.
Nelson Tire Center. Great prices, great service. Buy your own Bryford trailer. All types, all sizes. See Colin Douglas for your tires and batteries.
Are you looking for a scooter, walker, wheelchair, baby seats or pushchairs? Then come in and see the Nelson Region Specialist at Mobility for You, 269 Queen Street, Richmond, opposite the library. We have a huge selection of scooters, walkers, wheelchairs and accessories, along with a free booklet guide. We also provide a breakdown service if you ever get a puncture or a flat battery. We have fully equipped service vans to rescue you. Hi, I'm Robin Jordan and I invite you to call in and see the friendly team at Mobility for You, 269 Queen Street, Richmond, opposite the library.
Why would you want to pay as much as $1,000 for a single bed mattress when you can buy a high quality locally made mattress like this for as little as $220? And a queen size mattress could cost you in excess of $3,000, but at Nelson Beds you could have a mattress like this as low as $425. So why would you go out and spend a fortune on your child's bedroom when you can come to Nelson Beds and buy a complete single mattress and base set, a 7-drawer Scotch chest, a headboard and a 3-drawer bedside cabinet for as little as $979? So call and discuss our custom manufacturing options and local after sales service at Nelson Beds, Nelson's only bedding manufacturer.
Welcome to Smugglers Pub and Cafe, open 7 days a week with free parking all day. Our lunch menus have that old-fashioned flavour where we treat you like treasure with the food you'll savour.
We cater for children, grannies and granddads too, with special rates and privileges given to the elderly lunchtime crew. Our staff are friendly and kind and want to see you all come back time after time.
Daytime or evening, it doesn't matter. Give us a call on 546 4084 and we'll be happy to spoil ya.
Meet with John Pepper, the man who walked off his Parkinson's symptoms at NMIT's Ko-Fi Lounge, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m, Tuesday, March the 15th. On behalf of the team here at Mainland Television News, thank you for joining us, and we'll bring you the latest news and events from around the region again tomorrow.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.
Hi, I'm Paul Mainland and you're watching Ego TV, or something along those lines.
We're the team at JCar, right here in Nelson, 120 Hardy Street. Our shop is full of electronic items,
including security alarm systems, electronic components,
solar and power,
electronics toys,
sound systems, cables, and much, much more. JCar.
120 Hardy Street, Nelson.
Hi there, Julian Toon, Waimea Telecommunications. We install and maintain domestic and commercial satellite TV, UHF Freeview and Mainland TV installations in the Nelson, Tasman regions. We specialise in Panasonic telephone systems and provide communications, Wi-Fi, IT and wiring for internet, fibre, computers and DSL systems. At Waimea Telecommunications, we also provide specialist electronic systems for features such as a security camera you can watch on your TV, visitor alert systems and much more. Improve your security and communication and entertainment today. Call us on Waimea Telecommunications on 021 472297. ytel.co.nz.
Christchurch's top 10 holiday park, situated on 5 hectares of beautiful park-like settings. Only 5 kilometres from Christchurch town centre. 10 minutes from Christchurch International Airport and minutes away from Northlands Mall and all its facilities, including a 24-hour supermarket. And just across the road is a great variety of restaurants to choose from. Christchurch Top 10 Holiday Park has been a family-owned business for over 40 years and a proud member of the Top 10 Holiday Park Group, New Zealand's premier holiday parks chain. Our Top 10 Holiday Park is world-renowned as a family park and provides a wide range of facilities such as a heated swimming pool, bike hire, free barbecues, a jumping pillow, trampolines, a family games and TV room, and wireless internet. Accommodation options cater for a wide variety to suit all needs, from tent and camper van sites to family, luxury and corporate motels. And to make life easy for wary travellers, we even have a drive-through camper van check-in. At our Top 10 Holiday Park, we even provide housing solutions for earthquake-damaged houses and help with insurance approval. Come visit the Christchurch Top 10 Holiday Park, one of New Zealand's premier holiday parks, and experience all that Canterbury and Christchurch have to offer, right on our doorstep. Christchurch's amazing Top 10 holiday park. Top experience, always.
Meadow Park, located on Cranford Street near the Main North Road, Christchurch.
World War I was a defining period in our history, impacting greatly on the lives of people from the Nelson province. Memories of the First World War is an exhibition which will be displayed in a number of regional venues and is currently on at the Nelson Provincial Museum.
There's a lot of talk about sending humans to Mars, but no one talks about Venus. Why not? And could Venus actually be the better option for a human colony? Going to Mars has been a fixture in our collective cultural consciousness for a very long time. It's inspired more sci-fi movies and stories than I can count, a ride at Disney World, and a Twitter following for the Mars rover that's almost 2 million strong. Meanwhile, Venus has inspired, what? 2 Ray Bradbury stories, a plant that eats flies, and a razor? Basically, Venus has the worst public relations team in the solar system. And that hurts our sister planet not just in culture and media, but in space policy. Presidents Bush and Obama and the Chinese government have all outlined goals for manned missions to Mars. The Dutch nonprofit group Mars One even held an international competition to find volunteers for a one-way mission to the Martian surface. But Venus? No manned mission love at all. Which is odd, since in most respects Venus is actually an easier and less costly colonization target than Mars is. For starters, Venus is closer to Earth. That's why we sent probes to Venus long before we sent them to Mars, and why we sent more of them. Depending on the launch window, the round trip can be 30 to 50% shorter, which is a major factor for manned missions. Shorter trips means less weightlessness and radiation, less food and water to carry, and thus less fuel and lower cost. This would also be a huge advantage in moving the people and equipment necessary to actually colonize another world. Because bear in mind, there's no Craigslist in space. If we ever start a colony, we'll need to bring along almost everything. And it's not just the shorter trip. The planet itself has some significant advantages over Mars. It's closer to the sun, which means about 4 times more available solar power than you have on Mars. It also has a thick atmosphere, unlike that wispy layer on Mars. That means better protection from space radiation and meteorites for our enterprising colonizers and their future cities. It also means more available carbon dioxide, from which, in principle, you might extract oxygen. But the real kicker is gravity. Venus has about 0.9 Earth Gs, pretty close, while Mars has less than 0.4. And one thing we do know is that prolonged low gravity is bad for humans. How bad? In Earth orbit, astronauts lose bone mass at about 10 times the rate of someone with advanced osteoporosis. Now, no one knows exactly how bad Martian gravity would be for humans, but it's definitely not going to be good. On Venus, that's far less of a concern. And remember, we're talking about long-term colonization, not just visits. Even if we had the technological means to add water to a planet's surface and oxygen to its air, changing a planet's surface gravity is currently not even within the realm of discussion. So terraforming seems silly if people couldn't live there more than a few months without their bones falling apart. A theoretical Venusian colony thus seems to have a lot going for it. So why then this tunnel vision for Mars? Surfacism. Okay, I just made that word up, but hear me out. Ever since the days of seafaring exploration, we've had an obsession with landing on the surface of things. If you don't plant a flag on something, it's almost like having gotten there doesn't count. So what's all this have to do with Venus, which actually has a solid surface? Well, it does, but humans can't land on it. See, there's a teensy problem with temperature. There's so much CO2 on Venus that the greenhouse effect makes the surface hotter than hell. Over 450 degrees Celsius, well above the melting point of lead. But the bigger problem is the barometric pressure on the surface. It's over 90 Earth atmospheres. That means that landing on the Venusian surface would be like diving 1 kilometer underwater on Earth, far beyond the crush depth of most military submarines. In fact, most probes that NASA and the Soviets sent to the surface of Venus imploded in midair. We learned our lesson, and a few reinforced probes did manage to touch down and send images of the Venusian surface, but even those only lasted about 2 hours before, you know. The point is, I think surfacism is a real bias, and the fact that we can't live on the Venusian surface could help explain why Mars gets all the hype. But maybe that's sensible. I mean, if the surface will kill us, there's no point in going there, right? Not so fast. See, around 50 kilometers or 30 miles above the Venusian surface, some interesting things happen. First, the temperature drops to only about 70 degrees Celsius. That's still super hot, but firefighting equipment on Earth can withstand proximity to forest fires with temperatures that reach over 2,000 degrees Celsius. The pressure at that altitude also drops to almost exactly one Earth atmosphere. That means humans would need heat-resistant clothing and oxygen masks, but not spacesuits, to walk around in that environment. Granted, there's the minor nuisance of sulfuric acid floating around in the Venusian air, but that's potentially manageable. And at that altitude, the atmosphere is still dense enough for lots of stuff to float, like balloons filled with helium, or maybe filled even with just regular Earth air. Throw in the favorable gravity, and it starts to look like the upper atmosphere of Venus might be the closest thing in the solar system to an Earth-like environment. So, it might make sense to colonize Venus with cloud cities. I am not making this up. NASA's Systems Analysis and Concepts Directorate has unveiled a conceptual blueprint for this scheme. They call it the High Altitude Venus Operational Concept, or HAVOC. Interesting branding choice, but still super awesome. We've linked the NASA videos in the description. You should check them out. Now, for the record, this is all still conceptual. We are very far from sending this guy to lead our Venusian cloud city, but NASA is taking the idea seriously. Right now, most of the chatter is still about using Venus as practice for colonies elsewhere, like Mars. So we haven't overcome surfacism just yet. But this might change. The gravity issue alone might make Venus the go-to option for long-term human habitation. And who knows? Centuries from now, if we learn how to sequester enough carbon out of its atmosphere, we might even be able to plant a flag or two. So what do you guys think? Is Venus a better colonization option than Mars? Put your 2 cents in the comments, or even better, tweet them. #OccupyVenus. If we start a grassroots movement, I'll let you know on the next episode of Spacetime. Last week, we asked how you measure the size of the universe. Here were some of your questions. Autisme asked, how can space be expanding faster than light if the speed of light is the ultimate speed limit? I'm going to answer you in 2 parts. First, the speed of light speed limit is for things moving through space, not about expansion of space itself. But second, you're right, I shouldn't be talking about space expanding at a given speed. I should be talking about the size of the enlarge setting on a photocopier button. If I hit enlarge once every second, then there will always be 2 points on the page that, if they're far enough apart to begin with, will end up more than 1 extra light second apart after I hit that photocopier button. Ling Wing Zing commented that this was a pretty intuitive way to understand inflation. Thanks for the compliment, but be careful. We're talking about expansion of space in general. Inflation refers to a very specific expansion of space that occurred in just the first few instants after the Big Bang. The Matman1313 says that the Hubble bubble is a possible alternative to the idea that space is expanding at all. That's not correct. Space is expanding, period. What the Hubble bubble offers is a potential alternative to the currently observed accelerated expansion of space. Look it up. And to Brandon Spears, sure, we could always use help here at Spacetime. Like the Hubble Space Telescope, we've got schmutz on our lens too, so give it a wipe and help us out.
We're the team at JCar, right here in Nelson, 120 Hardy Street. Our shop is full of electronic items,
including security alarm systems, electronic components,
solar and power,
electronics toys,
sound systems, cables, and much, much more.
JCar. 120 Hardy Street, Nelson.
Welcome to Smugglers Pub and Cafe, open 7 days a week with free parking all day. Our lunch menus have that fat old-fashioned flavour where we treat you like treasure with the food you'll savour.
We cater for children, grannies and granddads too, with special rates and privileges given to the elderly lunchtime crew. Our staff are friendly and kind and want to see you all come back time after time.
Daytime or evening, it doesn't matter. Give us a call on 546-4084 and we'll be happy to spoil ya.
I'm Larry London from VOA Music Mix, bringing you news on the hour from around the world, plus music 24/7, from the latest hits to those classic favorites to jazz on Saturday mornings, plus much, much more. You can contact us by Googling Mainland TV or follow us on Facebook. Cheers from the team at Mainland Radio 1 and VOA Music Mix.
Are you looking for a scooter, walker, wheelchair, baby seats or pushchairs? Then come in and see the Nelson Region Specialist at Mobility for You, 269 Queen Street, Richmond, opposite the library. We have a huge selection of scooters, walkers, wheelchairs and accessories, along with a free booklet guide. We also provide a breakdown service if you ever get a puncture or a flat battery. We have fully equipped service vans to rescue you. Hi, I'm Robin Jordan and I invite you to call in and see the friendly team at Mobility for You, 269 Queen Street, Richmond, opposite the library.
World War I was a defining period in our history, impacting greatly on the lives of people from the Nelson province. Memories of the First World War is an exhibition which will be displayed in a number of regional venues and is currently on at the Nelson Provincial Museum.